Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Chapter 2 of Disable MD, and we're enthusiastically unpacking the incredibly high-stakes legal framework of GDPR Article 17, the right to be forgotten. Now, if you are someone who architects data systems, listen up, because this goes way beyond just fulfilling a simple user request. It is actually a profound architectural challenge. Trying to implement genuine erasure across modern distributed environments forces us to completely rethink how we store, process, and ultimately surrender information. Okay, let's take a super quick look at our beautifully structured roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the erasure myth. Second, the 6 grounds for deletion. Third, we'll look at the hard cases. Fourth, the global privacy landscape. And finally, we will tackle the 1-month deletion clock. Starting right off with Section 1, the erasure myth. And spoiler alert, it is definitely not just a checkbox. So, what does GDPR Article 17 actually require when a user hits that delete button? There's this persistent, kind of massive illusion out there, even among engineers, that it just means wiping a row in a database. But come on, we know modern distributed systems are built for redundancy, they're built for eventual consistency and immutable event logging. So when a user asks for deletion, it literally contradicts the very foundation of how we design databases today. Executing this properly requires rigorous legal analysis paired with some seriously sophisticated technical orchestration. It's basically like walking a razor-thin tightrope between two massive legal liabilities. Think about it. On one side, you've got wrongful deletion. If you accidentally wipe a core financial transaction record, you are suddenly violating strict anti-money laundering laws, which means massive regulatory fallout. But on the other side, wrongful retention. If you keep a user's marketing data after a valid deletion request, you're looking at equally massive GDPR penalties. So treating erasure like a simple automated script, that is a recipe for absolute disaster. Moving right along to Section 2, the 6 grounds for deletion. The crucial thing to remember here is that data deletion is not some kind of free-for-all. You actually need a valid, specific reason to delete data, and the law gives us exactly 6. We're talking about situations where the data's purpose is no longer necessary or consent is withdrawn. Then there are valid objections, unlawful processing, strict legal obligations, and the unique rules around children's data. You can't just say, "I changed my mind." Each of these 6 distinct grounds carries its own strict evidentiary burden, meaning a company has to definitively prove why they are keeping or trashing that info. This one is absolutely fascinating to me. Look at the specific protection for children's data. If you are sharing your location and browsing habits at, say, age 13, you fundamentally lacked the cognitive capacity to give meaningful consent, right? GDPR recognizes this beautiful philosophical judgment. The person who made that choice is simply not the same adult who is dealing with the consequences today. It's a structural protection meant to shield social media natives from the digital footprint of their childhood. All right, Section 3, the hard cases, because sometimes there are exceptions. Now we get to where things get super tricky, because balancing personal privacy against the public interest is incredibly fraught. Imagine a politician trying to use the right to be forgotten to just systematically scrub the internet of their past controversies. That individual privacy request clashes directly with a journalist's right to publish, and frankly, our right to know. You absolutely cannot automate this. It requires nuanced, case-by-case human judgment to weigh that public interest. And to make it even messier, the way these exceptions are handled varies wildly depending on where you are. A specific piece of data might be legally mandated for erasure in Germany to protect privacy, but over in Ireland, that exact same information might be heavily protected as free expression. For data architects, this is literally a nightmare scenario. You have to build an infrastructure that can execute highly complex geo-fenced deletion logic across multiple distributed databases at the exact same time. A lot of companies try to use this legal ambiguity as a loophole to just dodge erasure requests altogether, but regulators are aggressively cracking down on that. For example, yes, anti-money laundering laws might force you to keep transaction records for 7 years, but you cannot use that narrow rule as a blanket excuse to also hold on to that exact same person's behavioral marketing profile. The exception is purely, strictly data-specific.
Then there's the public health exception, which is philosophically a bit uncomfortable. It basically subordinates individual privacy to collective welfare. Think back to the COVID-19 pandemic. Contact tracing, infection records, those served a collective need that legitimately outweighed a person's desire to hit delete. However, and this is key, it is not an indefinite free pass. Once that emergency officially ends, the justification evaporates, and your systems have to instantly revert to honoring those erasure requests.
Okay, let's zoom out for Section 4, the global privacy landscape. As you can see, the right to be forgotten isn't just a European thing anymore. But trying to maintain unique fork logic for 50 different privacy laws, that is totally unscalable. If your team is trying to build one deletion pathway for California's CCPA, another for Brazil's LGPD, and a totally different one for India, your system is going to buckle under its own technical debt. The only sustainable approach for a global company is to build your deletion architecture to the single highest standard and just apply it uniformly across the board. Finally, we reach the climax in Section 5, the 1-month deletion clock. 30 days. You have exactly 1 calendar month, about 30 days, to respond to a GDPR erasure request. Now, that might sound like plenty of time, right? Until you do the math. Subtract weekends and holidays, and you're left with barely 20 business days to solve a massively complex distributed systems problem. And that clock starts ticking the very second the request is authenticated. There is literally no margin for error. The sheer technical scope of what needs to happen in those 20-ish days is staggering. After the legal analysis, you're just updating a main database. You have to hunt down data in offline backups, read replicas, distributed caches, and immutable event logs, which, by the way, are designed specifically so they can't be modified. And don't even get me started on machine learning. Scrubbing a user from a fully trained predictive model requires incredibly advanced engineering, like machine unlearning. If you haven't proactively built workflows to find data in all those hidden corners, 30 days is a terrifyingly short deadline. So how do you actually survive this ticking clock? You have to anchor your entire data architecture in something called purpose limitation. This isn't just some compliance buzzword, it's how you survive. If your data is strictly siloed by its defined legal purpose from day one, surgical deletion is actually possible. Because if the original purpose for having the data is gone, the data absolutely must go too. GDPR explicitly prohibits keeping speculative data. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder regarding your own company's architecture. Are you actually collecting data for a precise, legally defensible purpose? Or are you hoarding it just in case? Because let me tell you, just in case is exactly where catastrophic legal liabilities pile up. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and I really hope this helps you build a better architecture of trust.